that is desirable in that particular sector, such businesses, such industry do qualify. And there are also instances where exigencies of public interest could also make particular industry or particular sector qualify for pioneer sector incentive. And more importantly, within the context of the economic recovery and growth plan and the objective of the administration, sometimes it is desirable to use the instrumentality of this scheme to direct the flow of funds and the flow of investment into a particular sector that the government desire or regard as very critical to the development of the nation. So yes, broadcasting is going digital, so there's some significant amount of capital investment that is required in that area, and as a way of encouraging new entrants and existing businesses in that particular space, it definitely do qualify, and it's one of the areas where we have additional coverage in the new list that was just recently announced. So we have service industry coming on the list. We have the entertainment industry, motion picture, photography, television, music production, and all of those other areas that you projected to us in that slide that you just showed us now.
Yeah, thank you very much. You are the one that provided the slide. I will just push it out for our viewers. Thank you very much. But let's get to where this conversation is going to look test a little bit hot, and that was the tax drive. Revenue from the tax end is a very naughty one for this administration, and it's always been very naughty for previous administrations, really, anyway. But with recession, it takes a new form of dynamism and urgency to get more tax in. So how do you think President Buhari and the rest of his team balancing the tax drive for more tax on one hand, and on the other hand, saying there's going to be a tax holiday for 71 industries in the total in an economy where the formal economy is relatively small?
Well, all right. So that's a very interesting twist to the conversation, Bosin. But as you know, taxation is a consequence of business and profitability. So you need to earn income. You need to be engaged in productive activity and have something on the bottom line before tax could be applied, currently at 30% for the corporate income tax rates. So what has happened at the moment is that the productive sector of our economy is largely indolent. So government needs to use this particular incentive and scheme to galvanize activities in that particular area. So it's a matter of whether you want to keep taxing 30% of something very small, or you just want to allow 3 to 5 years for the kind of scale that when you apply the 30%, it becomes hugely significant. The telecommunication sector is a very good example. So when GSM was rolled out into the country, most of the new entrants into the market enjoy this tax holiday that we're talking about. And look at it, 3 years or even 5 years now look like very small compared with the amount of revenue and the amount of earning and the amount of profit that the government is now able to tax. So I think there's a link. The tax doesn't just sit on its own. So there's taxation. There's also the economic development. There is employment generation. There is growth that is desirable in a particular sector, and all of this all added up will eventually benefit the country a lot much more than resistance and avoidance of this kind of incentive.
A final question. We started this conversation and you spoke so well about what the problems have been for this particular pioneer tax status program over the years in Nigeria. And of course, there are reports of abuses and what have you. What makes this going to be tough? What new thing is the Buhari's administration put in place this time around to ensure that we don't come back in another 2-3 years, perhaps in another administration, and we're rolling back all over again and saying, hold on a second, we have to prove some folks, we have to prove some industries, some companies, perhaps some individuals, because the pioneer tax holiday was abused?
All right, so the way I see the new guidelines and the development in this space is that we now have, under this scheme, wider coverage, weightier conditions, and predictable timelines. And I will explain each of those. So wider coverage, that's already understood. 27 additional industries have been added. There are 2 of the original 44 lists that were marked for deletion, but they will still be eligible to enjoy the scheme for the next 3 years as part of a transition scheme. Weightier condition, prior to this newly released guideline, the amount of capital expenditure, CapEx, that is required to qualify is 10 million naira. And that kind of opened it up to all comers, everybody. And that's part of the process that led to the abuse. Now the stakes is higher. You need a minimum of 100 million naira in terms of CapEx to be able to qualify. So it's not a scheme for everybody anymore. So it's for serious business people, serious investors whose impact will be significant and be quantifiable in the economy. Also, prior to this guideline, there were no specific timelines. So you could put in an application for renewal. You could put in an application for new grant of pioneer status incentive, and for 1 year or even more, you probably don't even know where your application stands and what is going to be happening next. But now we have very clear timelines. Now, if you submit an application for new approvals, you have 12 clear phases that application will go through, and it is expected to be wound down in not more than 25 weeks. If it's a renewal of an application, it is 7 phases process that is supposed to be gone through, and the process is supposed to be consummated within a period of about 15 weeks. And if you juxtapose that and look at that within the context of the newly signed executive order by the acting president that grant default approval, and what default approval means is that if you submit an application to any ministry, department, or agencies of government that have very clear timelines set, if that agency of government refuses to give you notice of approval or notice of rejection, then the applicant can deem it as already approved, and you can continue to transact your business as though that approval had already been communicated and documented. So within that particular context, I think government is trying to hold its officials accountable and make sure that there is efficiency, there is predictability, and the overall ease of doing business is improved, and that's what we expect to play out. But the devil is in the detail. We'll watch out for how the implementation runs.
You are the one watching the details. Thank you very much, Yomi Olugbenro, partner and West Africa tax leader from Deloitte, Nigeria. Thank you very much. Of course, we got a bit of clarity there, whether we qualify here. 100 million. I'm sure we're worth more than that on the books. I'm going to check it out. Let's have a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the markets. We missed that earlier on, didn't we? Yes, we got some time more on the program to talk about that. Let's give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back after the break.